So, hello and good morning and welcome. It's really nice to see all of you here, and as Håkan said, Slush is competing with us today, so I'm really happy that you're here. My name is Lotta Buss. I work as a service designer at N2 Nolla, and with me today on stage I have Laura Invenius.
Hello.
We're going to tell a story about a case that we did together last spring about using service design thinking and methods when we created a strategy focusing on customer experiences. So we shortly tell you about the process, the tools and the methods we used, and then outcomes, what did we come up with, and we will summarize the presentation by telling you how the things have been implemented in ABB at the moment. And of course, we will shortly tell you something about ABB and ourselves. So please, Laura.
So hi, basically ABB is a power and automation company. It's all about processes and kind of making things smoother, for example, in the factories, saving energy. And I'm working for the product business unit called Drives. And drives in this context are the kind of, they control the speed of the motor. So for example, you can see them in the escalators. So sometimes they go slower and sometimes they go faster. And that is the purpose, so that they save energy. And we work we have offices in more than 100 countries, and we have more than 100,000 employees. But here in Finland, I'm located in the global marketing team, so we work globally despite the location.
Okay, and a few words about N2 Nolla. We are a service design agency based in Helsinki, and we founded Nolla about 2.5 years ago. At the moment, we're about 15 people working there. We work with brand design, service design, and customer experiences, and we also do some strategy work, and we do a lot of digital stuff, but we also have resources for doing stuff in the real world. And Lily is here today, who is our retail expert. And as I told you, I work as a service designer there and, well, designing services. When we started out the project last January, our mission was to create better customer experiences in digital touchpoints. ABB has a super strong brand and really good products, and they are very strong in the traditional marketing, and now they wanted to make these good things happen also in digital touchpoints. So, what did we do? We started by building the right team. We think that is super important when you start a project, that you have the right people on board. We had people from within ABB, from different countries, from different organizations, from sales, from product management, from marketing communication, and from Nolla, we were about 4 people working on the project. And when you think about internal commitment, this phase is really important, and we realized that we wanted to have people on board that could help us with the project, but also work as ambassadors in their countries, in their own organizations, to believe in the things we're creating.
So usually when you think about digital strategy, it's mainly about the tools and channels and technologies and the selections you make related to these. But in this case, instead, we noticed at some point that it's not only about tools and technologies, it's mainly about the content. And then once we know the content that is in place, then we can define all the other elements that come after that. So this is kind of the modules that we have inside the strategy. So we started with the bigger data and current state analysis, and then that led to creating the personas, the buyer's journey. We noticed then at that point that there is something missing in the buyer's journey, and then that led to content and channel decisions that we made on the way. Yeah, it's still my turn. Once we started the process, so basically it already started a year ago. So first I created the brief, and there was definitely a strong will inside ABB or inside ABB tribes to digitalize the marketing. And there had been a lot of small projects, but there was this bigger idea missing. So that's why we wanted to start this in a proper way and define the strategy first. What do we want to achieve with digitalization, and then move forward from there.
And when we met Laura and Susan for the first time, we got a really, really clear brief. So we knew exactly what they're looking for. Once we started working on the project, getting insights from external and internal stakeholders, we got a lot of information, and also ABB had a lot of data before we started. So you can see the information was like the data was growing. So it was kind of chaos phase last March when we started analyzing the data. And but just when you keep on analyzing and you work on it, then you start to realize, okay, you find some things that you should do. And then we came up with the solutions. And actually the strategy project stopped with the solutions. So we have 11 projects that should be carried through in order to get better experiences in digital channels. And some of the projects are started in August. But we're going to talk mostly about the solutions, not so much about the projects going on. When we do things at Nolla, we think it's as important to understand internal insights, internal stakeholders, as it is to get external insights from customers and other stakeholders. And also from the internal insights, you get a lot of information about external insights. And of course, when we start doing something, we need to have a goal. We want to know, what are we going to do? Why are we doing this? And we had business goals and goals for the marketing. We had specific goals for our project, and also the brand, strong ABB brand work kind of as a backbone and inspirational source for our work. As I told you, there was a lot of background information, and I think this is pretty common in most companies. It's not lack of data or lack of information. You usually have a lot of information, but it's not in a usable format. So we took a close look at benchmarking, competitor analysis, NPS, and also like where is the drives market going, information and research like this. And then we wanted to know even more about the drives. It's a pretty simple product, but when you look at all the places you can use drives in, it gets more complicated, and then there are people partnering with ABB, they are selling directly to end customers, so it's a pretty complex ecosystem. We had to know about this, so we discussed a lot with salespeople, with product people, just to get a real good understanding. And there's a picture when we were at a factory tour, which was my favorite day of the project. So if you ever had a chance to go to the drives factory in Pitäjänmäki, I really recommend it. It's a nice place. And super well designed, by the way. And of course, we talked to customers as well. In the beginning of the project, we decided that the only stakeholder is the customer. So we did not think about people looking for work at ABB or investors. We had discussions with end customers, OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, and also with partners that work really, really closely with ABB. And in 8 different countries, it's a global organization, so we had to think really globally, both internally and externally. And I think one of the more important things in the project was the co-creating workshops that we had together. We started out with a teleconference where we more got information from people working within ABB in the different country organizations to get a current state analysis, what is being done at the moment. And then when we had some insights also from customers, we met again in a 2-day workshop, and we were creating and working on the solutions together with people from ABB. And then we also had a finalizing workshop, just checking out that the solutions we are coming up with, that they are accurate and possible to implement. And then a few words, we used really basic service design tools in this project. And I think the tools helped us with this huge information, or kind of making information out of data into tangible information. That was how we could use the service design tools. So we had the personas. They gave us relevant contents, and we understood in what channels different people are working. So we had 3 personas. I'm sorry we can't go into details today because we have a lot of like business secrets here, but we'll show you more like just on top what we did. So we had 3 different personas working in different organizations, working in different partners, and also having totally different roles within the organization. And they helped us cluster the information so we could think about 1 persona or 2 personas when we designed the solutions. And the buyer's journeys, they told us again about context and place. For example, is Bob the engineer, is he using a mobile tool when he's installing a drive? So where is he using it and in what kind of context? Also, the journeys helped us understand how the brand expectations are related to the experience. We realized that this is not exactly what it looked like in the real life, but we realized that there were gaps where people expected more from ABB than they got, and also gaps the other way, where people were they got so good service they didn't expect that much, and they got even better service. And we were concentrating mostly on the negative gaps, what we should do and fix. So they helped us to know what do we have at the moment, what should we create, and how should we prioritize the things we're creating. Reduced customer effort is the most significant value creator. This was our design driver for the project, a really important one. And also in the execution project, this is like a leading thought for everything we do. And I hope it can keep on living within ABB also after this project. The idea is that everything should be done simple, in an easy way. So it should be easy to contact ABB, it should be easy to buy the products, it should be easy to install the products. So in all the communication and interactions, you should reduce the customer effort. And Laura, would you like to tell us with a few words how the tools have been used within ABB?
So basically, this is the strategy set that we have, and it's a set of slides. And normally you create it and then you store it somewhere and think that, ooh, good work, now it's done. But this is actually a living document, so it's based on modules, so it's very easy to use it in very different contexts and very different meetings. So sometimes you talk about the personas, you use them as an inspiration in some meetings. Sometimes you talk about buyer's journey when you think about different content types that you need to start creating or tools that are needed in certain phases. So it's a very handy tool, and I have to say that I use it on daily basis, so there's always something that I get back to and have a look at, and a lot of people have actually read the longest version that we have out of that.
Yeah, and we did not do a paperback copy of the digital strategy, but it was just a nice picture. Within the strategy, we have contents. Laura told us in the beginning that we started with the contents, which means we have to understand the customers before we understand what contents they need. And we had like 12 different topics on 3 levels. So we realized that there are must-have information, educational, additional information, and forward-looking information. And people use the information in different ways, and different personas use the information in different ways. And then we also have 4 topics under each content. And we can't, unfortunately, not tell you about the topics anymore, but this was kind of the idea how we built it. And we also realized that there are some information is more value-adding and some information is more shareable. When we knew the contents, it was easy to think about the channels and the medias. So we did a digital ecosystem. And in this picture, we were able to map out where is the hub, the home for the information, and how does it live in different medias. And when we had the contents, we had the channels and the medias, we combined these two and we created 11 tools and services out of these. And we prototyped the services really fast. And you can see just like snapshots of what we did. And I think the most important thing with these ones is that we made really fast sketches, prototypes. And when people see something, that okay, the tool could look like this. This is what we should do. It's much easier to start working on it, and it's much easier to communicate about it. Not a written document, but one picture tells so much more. So we came up with 11 different projects, 11 different tools that should be carried through. And one important insight was that you don't have to create new, big, beautiful stuff to add value to the customers. Because ABB, they do a lot of things. They have really good things done at the moment. So you can do minor changes into existing things, and you will get a really good value out of that. But you have to know what you should change and how it should be changed. And because we had the insights, we were able to know this. And also we actually made a roadmap out of these 11 projects, so we know what should be done faster, what is really like important, and what could be done later, and how big the project is.
So what are we doing now? So as I mentioned before, strategy, and especially digital strategy, is sometimes very challenging. And people don't really see the value, but taking it into the concrete level, when you have actually included in the strategy the prototypes and tools, then it starts to open up to rest of the people also, and they see the value and what can we achieve with it. So what are we doing now? So basically we have created the concrete roadmap, so we know both content topics and tools that are needed externally and internally. Partially we are changing from local processes and tools to a global approach when it's useful to business. So for example, we are thinking about instead of having local newsletters, moving to the global approach so that we have one global newsletter with various languages. And it's basically a tornado effect. Once people figure it out, then things just started to happen and things started to click into their places. So there was already this strong will in the organization, but it only needed to take some shape, and it took the shape in the digital strategy so that then things started to happen. So clearly the need has been in the organization, and putting it all together, then that started the change. So few practical examples what we are doing now. So we are in the middle of renewing the website for ABB Tries. The ABB.com has already been partially renewed, and now it's our turn, so we are doing the workshops and mock-ups at this stage for renewing our part of the website as well. Internally, we have renewed the internal newsletter. So this has been published already in the 80s, but now we just put the fresher look and took the new tool into use for sending this to our internal customers. And one thing that we have been also discussing more heavily than before are the metrics. So how do you measure things? So clearly there is also the kind of the people have realized how important it is to know what works and what doesn't know, what doesn't work. So that is a very fruitful discussion that we are also going through. So key insights from our perspective. So this is how it looked like before. You know, when you're working in B2B marketing, it's always quite funny because people mostly think that digital marketing is about social media. So what I usually hear is that our customers don't use Facebook, or our customers are not in social media, or when they need something, they just call me directly. So this is what you very often hear. Now that we created the digital strategy, what happened now is that we really talk about customer needs. So once we have interviewed the customers and we have created the persona, so we know we have this kind of inspirational persona, so we can use them as a basis for discussion. It's no more guesswork, and it's no more about I think that or I believe that, but it's hard facts. So then we have also found an agreement with the buyer's journey. So how does it look like, and what is happening in different phases? And we understand what the different phases mean and what are needed in different phases. We know what the customers are looking for. And on top of that, we have also identified and agreed different channels that we want to use. Of course, we have cut out something. We have decided not to go there. But that is also a common decision, and that is also based on something that we have heard from the customers. But the most important fact is, however, that now we are all talking about same things and with the same terms. So things really evolve and develop at this point. So then once we published the digital strategy and started talking about it, then of course we got some positive feedback, and here are some comments that we got from the co-workers. So it's been noticed kind of globally. So that kind of processes and tools are now taken into the global use also in other parts of the organization.
All right, so just to summarize what we learned in this project and how service design helped us to do a better project than we would have done without the tools. Internal change happens when people can co-create. This is something we believed in before we started the project, and we also realized that it was really important when doing the project. And also now when we are working on the execution projects, we realized that the internal buy-in is easier because people know that there's this strategy, that is co-creation. That's why we are doing this. And also a shared focus. When we have the customer in the center of everything we do, we don't have to discuss about what do I want as a worker, for example, for ABB. I think this should be good. I like this one. So now it's more a discussion about customer needs or what should we do together to make our customers happier. So kind of finding a common focus and going towards the same direction. And then we also realized, or this is something we tried to keep in mind when we were working on the project, not to look into things in company silos, because there's a service department, there's a marketing department, there's product people. We tried to look at the brand and the customer experience from the customer point of view, which means we didn't care, is it a service, is it a tool, is it a communication? So we took away the boundaries and tried to think in a customer-centric way. Thanks.